Happy New Year, guys. Great to see you. And I hope that this year is going to be the best one ever. May it be a very prosperous one for you and your family. Well, it's a new year, and that means new challenges for our World Champion Springboks. In this episode, you are going to get a front row seat to the fixtures that the Boks will be playing in this year, the ones that are confirmed, where we're playing, when we're playing, and the challenges that each of these matches present, as well as what will be the correct way to measure success for our world champions in 2025. And there's only really one place to start. That's the big one: 2 away test matches against the All Blacks in New Zealand. Now, personally, I think if we go 1-1 in the land of the long white cloud later this year, that would actually be pretty good. That would be a very, very good return. Don't forget, it's very rare that anyone goes to New Zealand and wins a test series. The Springboks were actually the first team in history to do it, but we've got to go all the way back to 1937 for that occurrence. Now, the British and Irish Lions have also won a test series in New Zealand. So have France, Ireland, and Australia are the other ones to have done it. But again, in most cases, everybody has only ever done it once. There's been a few drawn series. For example, the last time that the Lions were in New Zealand, it finished 1-1, with the third test finishing as a draw. But to go there and actually win, it doesn't happen. It just does not happen. And you know what? It's equally difficult to come to South Africa and win. The All Blacks have done it once in their entire history. The British and Irish Lions have done it. So have France, and no one else. Now, obviously, the All Blacks will want to go 2-0 against us later this year. They will be hurting. They've lost 4 in a row to us, including the Qatar Airways Cup annihilation in 2023, the Rugby World Cup final later that year, and then those 2 defeats in the Rugby Championship this year. Well, I should say last year, right? 2024 is last year. I need to get my bearings straight here. Now, as mentioned, we haven't actually beaten them over there in a series since 1937, but I believe that we have a golden opportunity in 2025. On the 6th of September, we face them at their holy ground, Fortress Eden Park in Auckland, and then on the 13th of September, 1 week later, we'll be in action at the Sky Stadium in Wellington. Now, just to come back to the former, Eden Park, Auckland, the holy ground, the Fortress, they haven't lost a test match there. Are you ready for this? Since 1994. That was when France beat them. And you know what? I think it's time, isn't it? It's been 31 years as I sit here, 31 years since they lost a test match at that ground. Obviously, there have been a few close calls, but believe it or not, it's 50 test matches in a row that they have not lost at their famous home ground in Auckland. South Africa actually played them there in 1994 on our tour there, the last time that we actually played a full tour there. Remember, these days with the Rugby Championship, we're playing these sort of mini-series, 2 tests in South Africa, 2 in New Zealand, and so on and so forth. That will change, by the way, next year, which is very exciting. New Zealand will be touring South Africa, a full tour, 3 test matches, and then 4 years later, 2030, we're going to go there for 4 test matches. So that is something to look forward to. But in terms of 2025, Eden Park, that is where the action starts. Now, I do believe that the Springboks are incredibly well equipped to go there and actually break this hoodoo for visiting teams. As mentioned, we've beaten them 4 in a row. We hold the Freedom Cup currently. We've won the World Cup 2 in a row. We've beaten them 4 in a row, including that Qatar Airways Cup match and the Rugby World Cup final in 2023. We hold every trophy that is available to us. And for me, the only thing that this Springbok team has not yet done, and that it needs to do in order to end any debate about its greatness, is go to New Zealand and beat the All Blacks in their own backyard. Now, anybody who knows anything about rugby will tell you that it all starts up front. I do believe that we have a better pack than them. And don't forget, should we go 6-2, let's assume, we've got 6 forwards, and sometimes 7 forwards. 6 or 5 usually, but 6 on average that are going to come on and make a difference for us in the second half. Now, yes, the strategy doesn't always work. Every now and again it backfires, but it works 90% of the time, I would say, and it's part of our DNA now. I do believe we have a better pack than them. Lineouts will be interesting because I think that the lineouts in 2024 was an area where the Springboks really could have improved. And then at the breakdown, I thought that the All Blacks actually beat us at the breakdown at Ellis Park and the Cape Town Stadium in 2024. So we're going to need to be extra competitive in that area in their own backyard. One of the things about going away from home, especially against a team like the All Blacks, is you are going to have to match them at a minimum in every single area. It doesn't help that we arrive there with a better scrum. There are referees. The crowd will obviously be on our case. There's all sorts of other little factors. The time zone, the travel time, and the differences with all of those things. It's not easy at all going to New Zealand. And there's a reason why they've been unbeaten in their own country, especially Eden Park, for so long. Having said that, one thing that does help us is that their air of invincibility is no longer there. We remember going there, especially between 2011 and 2015, and you could even extend that to 16, 17, and to a degree 18, but when we actually did win. And it was just the most difficult thing on earth, wasn't it? Not only did they have an amazing team. Let's be honest, a lot of people believe that that is the greatest All Black squad that has ever played. And they were magnificent. They were phenomenal. You just couldn't beat, nobody could beat them. They were something else. However, those players have all retired and things have turned around now. They are no longer invincible. They no longer have that air of invincibility, that aura. I think it's still there, but I think for teams like the Springboks and Ireland and even France, it's not really that big of a factor right now. And that is something that also counts in our favour. Speaking of the loss of that air of invincibility, in the last few years, what has happened to the All Blacks in their own country? As mentioned, the British and Irish Lions went there and drew a series, something that is not easy to do. Ireland have gone there and won a series. They won the series 2-1 after losing the first test. What are the chances that the All Blacks would win one test against a certain opposition and then lose the next 2 against the same opposition? It's unheard of, especially if you've grown up mostly during the professional era of rugby. It's just not something that happens. And then don't forget that Argentina have gone there themselves in the last few years and won twice. Los Pumas, funny enough, have never beaten them in Argentina, but have beaten them twice in their own backyard. South Africa has a golden opportunity here. Now again, granted, none of those wins by the Lions, Ireland or Argentina were actually at Eden Park, but you can see why I'm saying that the All Blacks are beatable. Will it be easy? Of course not. Is it possible? I believe it is. I also have a funny feeling that Dr. Rassie Erasmus is going to make this the top priority for 2025. Even if we don't win the Rugby Championship again, if we can go there and beat them on their own turf, that will be the measurement of success for 2025. And I know that someone might be watching this, especially if you're not a Springbok fan, and saying, oh, is that all you care about? You need to win the other matches. Yeah, we want to win the other matches, make no mistake. But I'm saying, if you look at the record of this Springbok side, we've won everything in sight. The only thing that this Springbok side has not done is go to New Zealand and beat the All Blacks in their own stadium or stadiums. And that, for me, is the ultimate measure of success. If you want to call yourself the greatest of all time, or whatever it is, GOAT, whatever you think, whatever you want to say, you've got to be able to beat the All Blacks in New Zealand. And you don't have to do it several times, but you've got to do it at least once. Even the England team that won the Rugby World Cup in 2003, about 6 months before the Rugby World Cup final, they were actually in New Zealand and they beat the All Blacks. And that is what this Springbok team needs to do. Defeat our old enemy on their own turf. Now, before those 2 test matches against the All Blacks, we will play against the Wallabies to kick off the Rugby Championship. Those 2 matches will be in South Africa. Remember, in 2024, we were in Australia, Brisbane and Perth, 2 beautiful victories. I believe that we will win the 2 against Australia as well. So now think of it like this. If we can win the 2 against Australia at home, go to New Zealand and at least go 1-1. Hopefully the one win is at Eden Park. But even if it's not, then we take Wellington. And then home and away against Argentina after that, and we win both. It'll be very important. 5 wins and a defeat, that should be enough to wrap up the Rugby Championship. The reason that I can say with such confidence that we will beat the Wallabies in South Africa is, firstly, they're not very strong right now, even though we did see on the end of year tour that there have been many improvements in their overall gameplay. But the reality is that they have a shocking record in South Africa, and we are just so much better than them in every aspect right now. I don't think that they will trouble us. I do think, however, that playing against the British and Irish Lions, because that's where the Lions are going next year, or this year, again, I apologize, this year, that is going to be something that toughens them up. So the Springboks cannot underestimate them. But what I think Rassie might do is, we're playing Italy twice in July and then Georgia. Okay, I'll come to that in a moment. I think Rassie will mix and match the teams there. I think whatever he considers to be the first choice team will play against Italy. We'll play one of the tests against Italy. And then maybe they'll be on the bench. So the best players will then be the bomb squad, or the starters will be the bomb squad for the second Italy test, however he chooses to do it. The test against Georgia, it's going to be a case of giving other players an opportunity. Fringe players, youngsters, that sort of thing. And then I think Rassie will pick his first choice 15 against Australia. The best available team, first choice, will play the Wallabies in the first test. Then I think something like 10 players, if not more, are going to get on a plane and fly to New Zealand. And the rest of the boys will stay here and take on the Wallabies in the second test. And then they will fly over to New Zealand. That means that 10 of our starters, minimum I believe, will be in the land of the long white cloud for at least 2 weeks before that Auckland test, giving them plenty of time to acclimatise. Remember, after the second Australia test, there is a week break, and then we resume hostilities against the All Blacks. And I think that that is what Rassie is going to do. No doubt the boys are going to be highly motivated to do it as well. Pieter-Steph du Toit, Eben Etzebeth, Siya Kolisi. These are men who badly want to go there to New Zealand and beat the All Blacks. Now, obviously, it's a risky strategy because you could end up losing to Australia in that second test match. But I think that Rassie will have this well worked out and well calculated. And then, as mentioned, we'll finish off against Argentina. The first one will be at home, the second one away. And I think this time round, what Rassie will do is the best available team will take on Los Pumas in South Africa and make sure, and then, the other way around, the best available team will actually go to South America, because remember, in 24 it was the other way around, right? The best players stayed behind to make sure in Nelspruit, but I think this time the best players will actually go to South America, and a sort of mix and match 15 will take them on in South Africa, almost certain to win. It just depends on what the permutations are at that stage of the competition. Having said that, I do believe that beating Italy 2-0, I think that that is a given. We'll beat Georgia, we'll beat Australia 2-0 at home, and then we've got to go to New Zealand, and that is where everything will rest in terms of the measurement of success for 2025. And hopefully, like I say, if we just go 1-1 over there, which is very possible, come back, beat Argentina home and away, 5 wins and a defeat, that should be enough to win the Rugby Championship. Don't forget, we think that the All Blacks will probably beat the Wallabies twice again. But this year, New Zealand have to go to Argentina. Now, Los Pumas have never beaten the All Blacks in their own country. They've beaten them in New Zealand twice, as mentioned previously. And I know that they will be beyond desperate to finally beat the Kiwis in their own country, in front of their own people. And I think that that is something that will motivate Argentina massively. And that could result then in a second defeat in the tournament for Argentina, assuming that we have beaten them once, at least, in their own country as well. By the way, all of this being said, if all of that happens, as I'm laying it out here, it would mean that the Springboks would have won the Rugby Championship for a second year in a row. And guess what? That's also something that we've never, ever done. Every time we've won a Tri-Nations or a Rugby Championship, the next year we pretty much are nowhere. We're almost non-competitive. And I think that is another box that Dr. Rassie will look to tick in 2025. Now, I know a lot of people are feeling a little bit underwhelmed about us taking on Italy in July. They were saying, oh, why can't it be Ireland or France or England even? Well, one of the reasons is that the British and Irish Lions are touring Australia. So that means opponents like England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales are not available, even though some of them will end up sending second 15 teams to, like Argentina. England are going there, for example, but Los Pumas are going to smash them, I have no doubt. So Italy is actually first prize, not France, because the French have got a new policy where they don't take their best players overseas in July. They treat it as a developmental tour. So even though the All Blacks are getting France and it looks blockbuster, it's actually not. New Zealand are going to kill them in all 3 test matches. And that means if you got excited about buying a ticket to go watch the All Blacks play France in New Zealand, well, I've got some bad news for you. You're not going to see Gregory Aldrit. You're not going to see Antoine Dupont. You're not going to see Romain Ntamak. You're not going to see Damian Penaud. You're not going to see Thomas Ramos. None of those guys, Winnie Antonio, none of those guys are going to be touring New Zealand. And so with that in mind, we've actually got the best opponent outside of the Lions, of course, in the Italians. And you know what? This is the best Italian team ever. You go, what, Pete? Really? Yes. Have a look at what they did in the Six Nations last year. They had their best ever Six Nations. They beat Wales, they beat Scotland, and they drew against France. They've never had a record like that in the Six Nations before. And we also saw last year, at the end of the year, that they actually gave New Zealand a good run for their money. They were never going to win that match, but it was a decent performance. So I think that they will give the Springboks a good workout, and in many ways, that's a good thing to have in July. Having said all of that, we'll see how they go in this year's Six Nations. I'll be keeping a very close eye on them for us. And what I'm going to do, you might like this, February, March and April, I'm going to do regular videos about Italy and what they're doing in the Six Nations, looking at their strategies, looking at their best players, looking at their weaknesses. And I'm going to do episodes about that. And we try and figure out who exactly they are going to be in July and how best to combat them. I hope that you're going to enjoy that. And then just finally, a word on Georgia. We saw last year we took on Portugal in Bloemfontein. This is actually part of World Rugby encouraging Tier 1 nations like ourselves to play more regular matches against Tier 2 nations. And I think one a year, you know what, it's better than nothing. And yes, we do like to see these tests. I think last year's one against Portugal, it was a great occasion. This year we're playing Georgia. Who knows what happens next year? Maybe Spain, I don't know. But it's good to see. And I think that we want to see more of that as well. At least one per year. That's good. I would like to see 2 a year. Maybe one at home, one away. The problem with the structure of international rugby is that it really is about money. So the problem for the Springboks is that if we go and play an away test match against Georgia in Tbilisi, for example, we're unlikely to make the kind of money that we would if we play England at Twickenham. So you can see how that's not ideal. And that is one of the things that holds that back as a strategy. So hopefully World Rugby can take some action. And there's no word yet on the Qatar Airways Cup match. I really hope that it will become an annual thing, usually the week or 2 weeks before the July test matches. I've actually got a really nice idea. We could play Japan in the Qatar Airways Cup match. We're not going to get any of the British teams because obviously they'll be with the Lions. It'd be stupid to play Italy since there's a series coming up against them. We could play France, actually. Could play France. The match will probably be at Twickenham again because the first 2 Qatar Airways Cup matches were played there. We could play France. I think Japan would be a great opponent because we don't really play against them because they sort of keep the same season as us, right? They host matches in July, they tour in November. So the Qatar Airways Cup is a really nice opportunity. An alternative, actually, we could play a third test against Argentina for the year. So outside of the Rugby Championship, there could be a third match. That could be the Qatar Airways Cup match at Twickenham. I think a lot of people would love to see that, and I know that Los Pumas will be up for that. Okay, so here's the confirmed fixture list for the Springboks in 2025 so far. On the 5th of July, we'll be taking on the Italians, and again on the 12th of July. That's my birthday, by the way. Looking forward to that one. And we don't have venues confirmed for any of those just yet. And then we are taking on Georgia on the 19th of July. Again, we don't yet have a venue. 16 and 23 August, we face Australia. That's in the Rugby Championship. That'll be at home. Again, no venues have been confirmed just yet. My guess is that because Johannesburg and Cape Town had Rugby Championship matches last year, these ones might be Durban and Pretoria, but it's not yet confirmed. Then we go to New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud, the 6th and 13th of September. And then we take on Argentina on the 27th of September. That'll be at home. Also no venue confirmed just yet. And then we finish on the 4th of October in South America. We also don't yet have a venue. And guess what, guys? Unconfirmed reports, but usually these rumors head in a certain direction. In November, it looks like we are going to play France and Ireland. I am very, very much looking forward to that. Very juicy fixtures indeed. But as I say, it's not yet confirmed. But as soon as it is, you can be guaranteed that you will hear about it here on Front Row Rugby. So let me know what you think. How do you think the Springboks will fare in 2025? Let me know in the comments section down below. What is the measurement of success in your opinion? And while you're down there, you can also hit the super thanks button. That is the heart button with a $ inside of it. If you click on that, you can make a highlighted comment, and I promise to hit the heart button on your comment, and I will reply to it as well. It will also give you the opportunity to make a small donation to my channel. I'm trying to collect donations, guys, because I want to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under with daily content. But I'm going to need a little bit of assistance, and you can help me out with that super thanks option. Otherwise, you can just spear tackle the like button. You can also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And why not go and check out some of the other videos that I have on my channel? James Small has a brand new book coming out, and you know what? You can win it. Find out how by watching this video over here. And you know what? We spoke about 2025. 2024 has only just finished. The Springboks did very well, as you may know. My report card for the team and full assessment is in this video over here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.